All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the NFL playoff shows. This is the conference championship. It's in Denver and Seattle. We've got the Patriots at Denver, the Rams at Seattle. I don't know, Hoop, if we would have thought this would be the case at the start of the season, but as usual, Hoop is here with me. We're going to be breaking down everything for the two-game slate. We'll go position by position, talk roster construction, ownership, how we see things shaking out for these big slates. 2 milli makers out there on DraftKings as well. Hoopster, what's going on? Did you see this at the start of the season? Broncos and Seahawks hosting these games?
It just got me thinking when you said that. It's like you think back, and that's, I think, the beauty of the NFL, like how quickly teams are able to turn it around. Like you have a good draft, like you can instantly get like right back into the game, and like coaching changes and things like that go a long way. And like no other sport is it really possible, I think, to be so surprised, I guess, at the end. I mean, you look at the AFC side, and I think very surprising on both sides. No one would have guessed Patriots or Denver really being here. You're thinking Bills, you're thinking Chiefs, that sort of thing. So some new blood here in those two teams. You go to the NFC, I guess maybe you could have made the case for the Rams a little bit, but I mean they're more of like people probably had them pegged for like a fringe playoff team. And then Seattle, a complete surprise. Great defense, Sam Darnold coming over looking solid. So I guess the only team that I guess you could probably have made the case for early on in the season or before the season would have been the Rams. But the other three teams, pretty surprising. And again, it just goes to show the I guess the parity in the NFL, how quickly it is to turn things around. Like you see it in baseball all the time. Certain teams are just buried forever. NBA say the same thing. I mean, teams are bad for a really long time, and it's kind of impossible to turn it around. I really can't speak for the NHL because I don't follow the NHL at all, but NFL does a phenomenal job with giving the teams the ability to rebuild rather quickly, 2-3 year process, and you're right back in the game. And it's good for the sport. And two good games and big prizes, obviously, for DFS.
Yeah, I love what you said there too. Like the one thing I like about it especially is like the buys and the one and done. Basically, not the golf one and done like we have over at our friends with Splash Sports. Do a little marketing in there too, but just noting it in like baseball, people hate on the Dodgers and all. I get it, whatever, but you can't do nothing about it. It just is the way it is. It makes a really good underdog story no matter who plays them, but it's really tough to beat someone in a series when their team is that strong, that good, that much depth, like all these different factors in all these other sports. That's typically what you're up against. In football, you better show up for this one game. If Sam Darnold is seeing ghosts on Sunday, and we'll get there in a minute, it could be a bad thing for those Seahawks after just winning 41-6 against the 49ers, getting all the way here, et cetera, et cetera. The one most interesting thing, and I'll get your grand scheme overview, is the people are betting the Patriots and the lines moved to 4.5. So the reverse line movement 4.5 now from 5.5. I mean, people were saying at the start of the week, like how are the Patriots only 5.5 point favorites against Jarrett Stidham? No Bo Nix, obviously the unfortunate injury for him. So give me your thoughts on that and then the grand scheme overview before we hop into this slate.
Definitely the big talking point kind of all week with Bo Nix very surprisingly getting injured, knocked out for the rest of the playoffs. No one really saw it as the game was going on. And then shortly after the game, ruled out for the rest of the playoffs, broken ankle, pretty wild. It's very important, obviously, for this week for DFS purposes, because a lot of times when you have a backup quarterback come in, somewhat unknown backup quarterback, is just automatically, okay, this team is done. Like there's no way they can win. And I think that was the initial reaction. I don't know much about Stidham. I mean, a little bit. I mean, I've done a little research on him, but it's hard to know because we really haven't seen him play in the NFL. So you don't know what you're getting. The coach speak is good, but obviously it has to be good. Like Sean Payton can't come out and say, oh, we're fucked now. Bo Nix got hurt. He has to sell everyone on Stidham. And I get that. The one thing that's definitely working in his favor, he's been with this team for a while. Like he's been with this team, I think 3 years. He knows the system. I think another thing working in his favor, and I don't know if it's like necessarily like a hot take or anything, but to me, Bo Nix has been decent. It's not like Bo Nix has been like super elite. He's had some good spots this year. He's had some really bad spots this year. The strength of this team is clearly their defense, the pressure they get on the quarterback. So the big question for that game is, can Stidham like just not make a ton of mistakes? Like, can he be a serviceable quarterback, get the ball to the guys he needs to, don't turn it over, limit the nerves. Obviously, it's going to be a nervous situation, but can he limit the nerves? I think Denver's totally live, after all this, like just thinking through it, like they have a very, very good defense. That's the strength of their team. Can they get after Drake May? Can Stidham limit the pressure, limit the nerves? Like, I think he can. So I think Denver's live in this game. We'll see, though. I mean, it obviously could go the other way where they get their ass kicked. Like, that can happen anytime. But I think Denver's relatively live for DFS purposes. Stidham is 4,500. The one thing, though, with Stidham, and we'll get into it more as we go throughout this show, is when you play, the pricing is terrible again. I bitch about it all the time. We bitch about it all the time. If you play Stidham, your team is going to look very similar to what a lot of other people are going to do. So when you play when you play teams with him, you got to be careful what you do, because a large majority of those teams are going to have Kenneth Walker, JSN, and Puka, because it's very easy to fit in those three. Those three are projected much higher than everyone else. So maybe if you're building a lot of teams, you make a rule where not necessarily make a rule, but make sure you're getting teams where there's only two of those guys, or maybe one of those guys. You're obviously going to play at least one of those guys in just about every build this week. But the Stidham teams, man, those three guys, the three highest projected guys on the slate by a wide margin, are going to be in such a large majority of those Stidham teams, where you need to really take a deeper look at what you're doing in those Stidham teams.
Yeah, and what do you think from a perspective of like how, I mean, the ownership is out there. We're going to go position by position in a second anyway, just because it makes it easier on a 2-game slate. But, it looks like Drake May, then probably Darnold, then Stafford, then Stidham. But what is sort of the theme? You talked about it there with like Walker, JSN, Puka. I think Walker, Puka for sure will be the highest owned combination of anything on the slate. They just fit so easily no matter where you go. But do you see more people like tippy-toeing around the first game and then being heavier on the game stack of the second game? Or because we see that Drake May looks to be the more popular quarterback, that's just because people are like, well, if I'm on Walker, maybe not Darnold. If I'm putting an expensive Puka in there, not sure if I'm going to be able to afford Stafford. Like, Stafford's only $300 more than May. So I'm currently seeing May as the most popular quarterback. It can segue us in to the quarterback position, but how do you see sort of overall builds looking at first glance?
It's all going to be based on projections. The only reason Drake May is going to be the highest owned is because he's the highest projected, and he's only 6,000. So you're not sacrificing anything to play the highest projected guy on the slate. And at every position, you're going to see that. I mean, the ownership is basically just going to fall in line with what the projections are at each position, because it's easy to play the top guy, the top projected guy at every position, because the pricing is so bad. So you got to try to use that to your advantage. And for me, I guess we can kind of hop into the quarterback thing. Like, if it's going to be Drake May as the highest owned quarterback on the slate, like, I'll be looking to do something different, just because, first off, I don't love the spot. Traveling, they are favored, obviously, but Denver's a tough spot to play in. You have the altitude stuff, and Denver's defense is very good. And clearly, what's Denver going to try to do? They're going to try to slow this thing down and win this ball game like 13-10. Now, can't always do that. If that's the game plan, doesn't mean it's going to work, right? But that's what they're going to want to do. And highest owned quarterback on the road against a good defense, like, man, I'll go anywhere else. I mean, we currently have Drake May at 35, Sam Darnold 26, Matthew Stafford 22, and then Stidham 15%. And I hope that holds true, because if I personally am going to rank these quarterbacks factoring in ownership and everything, I would almost be reverse on what the ownership's showing. So that's good. If Stafford's going to be the third highest owned quarterback, give me Stafford as my highest owned quarterback. If Stidham's going to be the lowest, I'll find a way to get some unique Stidham builds in there. I'd be good with him. And then I would probably go to Drake May, and then Darnold would probably be my least favorite quarterback on the slate. So really the only reason Drake May is getting this ownership is because of the projection. We have him projected at 19.5. We have Stafford right around 17.5. So he is 2 points higher than Stafford. Everyone has a very similar difference between the two. Sabre has it as a 2-point difference. Other sites, everything's right around 2 points difference between Stafford and May. If that was flipped, if Stafford was showing the higher projection, Stafford would be the highest on quarterback on the slate. So I mean, I like this setup with Drake May being the highest owned, because when you factor that in, he's my third favorite. So it would be Stafford. I guess I kind of have to say Stidham. And there is a little bit of rushing upside. Like, he has a rushing prop, Stidham. I think that is important. Like, he's not going to take off 20 times, 15 times, but his rushing prop, title's not here, so I had to do a little research before the show, is right around 15, 16. And that's a number. Like, if he can get 20 yards, that's 2 free points on a 4,500 quarterback. If he throws a touchdown, could be free rolling. I mean, it's a 2-game slate. Like, your expectations or what you want to get out of a guy is much lower on a 2-game slate. So I'd kind of flip it on the ownership stuff and go the opposite direction. Stafford, Stidham, May, and then Darnold for me.
Yeah, that is interesting too. Like I said, 15-ish, and you talk about title not being here. Obviously, usually looking at this stuff for us, but over 200 yards for his passing. Yeah. Right. If you're looking at him from that perspective, I don't think I have any touchdown over under for some reason, but yeah, that was the other thing too. No real weather. Like, if you look at New England and Denver, it's a little bit cold, but that's about it. And then at the other game, mild temps, light winds, no issues. So I don't think people are going to be doing anything based around that. I think that something too will be prevalent, and we'll see, is that like Drake May could come down a little bit, which is interesting, because if you have the stone over at Chip It Nation, you'll be able to see what his optimal looks like. So if his ownership was to come down and that would be similar, you'd look at that as like an opportunity. But it makes sense that when people end up on Walker, Puka, JSN, some combination of those guys, they're willing to go to Barner or who else do they usually play? Like the Cup, Shaheeds, the Parkinsons, the Higbees. Once you go to that, I think people will be able to go to the game stack higher total. If they think the first game is going to be more defense, you could see Stafford and Darnold pick up a little bit, but I still think Drake May stays pretty close to where he's at now, like you said. So the other thing I would say too is just like the Stidham one, probably a little bit more uncomfortable for people, because they don't I mean, you got Cortland Sutton, sure. Pat Bryant has no injury designation as of last night. Obviously, they were feeding him early on. That was with Bo Nixon, but they were feeding him quite early, 3 for 32 before the concussion, had to leave the game. Week after, you get Parker Washington concussed, who comes back and then breaks the slate. You cannot get that from Pat Bryant. He has to just completely be out of the game, but he'll be back in there at 4,400. So I guess people know where to go. But I think, like you said, a key point there, if you're going Stidham, got to be very careful or thinking about what you're doing, because it's just going to be a lot of, so you can instantly plug in Walker, JSN, Puka, the best of every spot, and then kind of fill it out from there. It's not saying you'll be completely duped every lineup like that you build, but you'll definitely have a lot of commonalities with those other builds. So I think that's kind of one thing to look at there. But at $4,500, he's definitely viable, especially when you mentioned the running aspect of it. I also think we'll wait and see, when we get to wide receiver, but I think just because Puka's so easy to fit, I think the delta between Puka and Adams could get even further apart, because Puka's just so simple. And people look at Puka for good reason. Like, even if you didn't have Stafford, or even if you weren't really in on that game that heavy, still play Puka, because the guy could have like 7 for 70 in the first quarter, really. And then he can have, his game where it's like 9 for 110 and 1 or maybe 0 even, and you're still good on a 2-game slate. And slim pickings, like, people like going to Diggs sometimes, but they don't always like picking between like Booty and Pop. When they go to Sutton, maybe, but will they go back to Mims or Bryant? JSN, sure, but they don't really love Cup and Shaheed. So it just makes it so you see that happen a lot more often. So from an overall build perspective, I think even when people are on May, staying with the quarterback here, I think it's still just going to be automatic to see Puka and Kenneth Chalker the third for good reason. No Charbonnet. We'll get to that in a second. Anything else you want to cover at quarterback before we go to running back?
No, I mean, I do agree, though. I think that the Drake May stuff could flatten out like a little bit, but I guess the one takeaway for sure is it's almost certain he's going to be the highest owned regardless. Like, he's going to be up there. It's just how big is the gap between him and I don't know, based on what we have Darnold as 2. I think it would be Stafford. I don't know. I still think it's going to end up going Drake May, Stafford, Darnold, and then Stidham in terms of ownership.
I think that's the other flip. Great call out there, because I think you easily see the Stafford number flip with Darnold, and then maybe they both come up a little bit and Drake May comes down a little bit, or we have seen this, the Stidham number could be off. Like the Stidham number could end up
come down. I think it could come down because people are still going to look at it like, man, do I really want to play Stidham? And the 4,500 really doesn't do that much. Like, you're not saving a ton. The salary, everything's super soft, the pricing. So it's not like necessary to go down to Stidham. If people are hand building teams, they're not starting with Stidham. They're going to start with the more stable option. So he could
be like 10 to 12 instead of 15.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
That's
I
kind of
think
what I'm
so.
thinking.
I hope that's the case, and I think there is a legitimate chance there.
Yeah, second last big NFL show of the season. Obviously, we'll be back with the full crew with title included for the Super Bowl to break that down. He's coming off a $113,000 win on the most recent Super Bowl. So you talk about recent form for title. He'll be back to break down the Super Bowl with us. But just noting on this one, the golf package is back. So if you guys are wanting to get in on the PGA DFS, if you haven't looked at the leaderboards, if you're playing PGA DFS and you're not at Shiba Nation, you're most certainly missing out. If you look at the leaderboards last week alone, we had the $200 single entry winner. Shout out to our guy Wins a Lot. We had our guy Jerry Matt in Showdown. We had Butter win $2,500. Another person win $4,000. These are just the biggest wins. All kinds of others within the Discord and huge ROI returns already this week. Ranger 10K yesterday. Like, it's just going to be winner's circle like crazy. But we do have the winner's circle program. You can check that out. But the biggest thing for this weekend specifically, if you don't know, we'll make sure everybody knows about it, is the trials. Obviously, you can get in anytime for a $9 day pass. You do not get Discord. It's pretty limited that way, but it's way better deal. The best value for sure is just to go to the 5 days for $19. It gets you 5 times the amount of coverage. It includes Discord, and it's only $19. You can then convert it to whatever all access or single sport package that you want. And then lastly, if you didn't know, we did partner with Rick Rungood, where you can get the SaberSim plus the Rick Rungood tools. So if you're not in on the $349 deal and you want to get the tools added on, $549 is about $50 less than our competitors charge for just projections, ownership, and some of the articles. We've got $549, including SaberSim and Rick Rungood's tools. If you don't think you need the tools, you want to look at it a different way, you can just get PGA. And that's the thing. SaberSim is a phenomenal partner, but there's no single sport over at SaberSim. So that's why the benefit of having the relationship with us. If you're at another site and you want to jump ship, we talk about Project Jump Ship all the time. You guys can definitely come over and join us. We'd love to have you. All right, Hoop, let's move on to the running back position. The elephant in the room was the room was taken up by this elephant, Kenneth Chalker III. We've made fun of it forever. Doesn't really matter if you've been playing him or not. At this point, it's a 2-game slate. His optimal rate is through the roof. People are going to say, like, just plug him in and lock him because it doesn't even matter if he does or he doesn't. You can argue that, obviously, but what's your thoughts on Kenneth Walker? Start there, and then let's talk about the position as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, tough because obviously, you could make some sort of arguments, I guess, if he is like a little more expensive, but he's not the most expensive guy in the slate. He's 6,200 coming off an absolute banger performance that everyone saw. Charbonnet out. He's going to get all the work. I mean, they are activating guys like George Holani and Velas Jones Jr. These are the guys behind him. He's going to be out there basically every single down. The projection's big. What's the case? I guess really it's like, what's the case for fading him, or how does he really fail on the slate? He needs a moderate performance. He needs probably, 15 or below. Needs 2 of these other guys to have games that beat him, whether it's Kyron Williams, RJ Harvey, one of the Patriots guys. Just really tough to make the case against him, even because when you factor in a 2-game slate, like I said, like your expectation for performance from these guys comes way down. Like 10 could be enough for RB2, 12 could be enough for RB2. So it makes it very, very difficult. Obviously hard to take a overweight stance on them if you don't just lock them in. If you're building a lot of teams, a lot of people will end up doing that. We're showing 82% ownership. Seems pretty standard. Like right around 80% is probably where he's going to be. Do you just hit the lock button on him? Yeah, he can. I mean, it's not doing really anything. Like if he has a good game, he's going to be on optimal regardless. I mean, if he has a middling game, he's probably going to be on optimal. So just bad pricing. He could be, what would make the slate interesting is if he was 8,500 instead of 6,200, which that's kind of where he should be priced on the slate, but he's cheap. So yeah, it's tough to avoid that situation. After him, Kyron Williams also had a big game, but a much tougher matchup. I guess the nice thing about the Kenneth Walker situation, when you start considering some of these other options, is their ownership's all going to be a little lower than it would be because of this Kenneth Walker situation. Tough matchup for Kyron coming off big. The one thing about Kyron, though, we saw in the regular season a lot of Blake Corum. Like Blake Corum was getting pretty consistently around 10, 11, 12 touches. Well, last week that kind of fell off a little bit, and Blake Corum only got, I think it might have been like 6 carries. Only 6 carries, no targets in the passing game. Definitely did not get as much work as he did in the regular season, and I kind of expect that to continue this week as well. If it is a competitive game, it's clearly Kyron over Corum. I think they're probably using Corum a little bit more in the regular season to preserve Kyron. RJ Harvey's the other guy that gets all the work, most of the work. They did use McLaughlin, I think, a little bit more than people thought. But again, with these backup running backs, I'll kind of get into that. It's like the pricing is just so close to the starters where it's so tough. Like with a Blake Corum, he got 6 carries. He doesn't catch passes. Like, what's his path? Like, he has to score a touchdown. He might need 2 touchdowns. So it's really tough. And he's $5K. Like Kenneth Walker's 6,200. Blake Corum is $5K. It's a $1,200 difference when salary doesn't really matter this week. It's just hard for these backup guys. Corum, McLaughlin, like I just can't even come close to clicking those names just because of the pricing stuff. So back to RJ Harvey, should get almost all the work, 5,900. Then you got the Patriots guys, which I think are somewhat interesting. Ramondre Stevenson looking like he's going to get a lot of ownership at 47, and he clearly is. It's probably, I don't know the exact numbers, but it seems more of like a 60-40 situation in his favor. He got 16 carries. So he got 20 touches last week, but Henderson still has a legitimate role. I mean, Henderson had 12 carries, one target. Like, he will be used around the goal line. I think Henderson is the one guy that's somewhat interesting. He's going to be obviously much lower owned than all 4 of those guys above him: Walker, Kyron Williams, RJ Harvey, Stevenson. We have Henderson at 16%. Sabre has it 13, so we'll call it 15. I think he has 2 touchdown upside. It is a tougher matchup, but I guess the main point is it's really tough to make a case for anyone after Henderson. Kenneth Walker, Kyron Williams, RJ Harvey, Stevenson, and then Henderson. But all those other guys are getting solid ownership. I guess I'll rank them outside of Walker. Like, Walker's in a group of his own, I think, this week. I don't know. It's going to be, I guess, I don't know. It's tough. I guess Kyron Williams, Harvey, Stevenson, Henderson. I don't know. It's a tough position to kind of analyze and make any sort of move on, really. I don't know, like, what's the play here? Like, it's hard to have like a hot take, I guess, at the running back position on this 2-game slate. Maybe you have something, because I really don't.
Not really. No, actually, I think the Henderson one was the best one, and I'll go more on that in a second. But just to round out, so some people don't look at the numbers, or they try and like do the no ball thing and all this other stuff. It's like Kenneth Walker has 113.5 all-purpose yard prop. Puka has 97.5. Puka is plus 125 to score a touchdown. Kenneth Walker is minus 150. Different positions, sure. Kenneth Walker is 6,200. Puka's 9K. You can play them both. I'm just explaining, like, that's why you're not really looking to get too different. You can get different with the play, not who you play, how you play them. We talk about it a ton. Many people that don't play Walker are at least going to consider, okay, if I'm not playing Walker, then what am I doing? I think in your MME sets and pools and things like that, yes, some Darnold with JSN, with Kupp, with Barner, like, do that. I think, honestly, the other way is to go, and it'll be a late swap thing too, by the way, Kyron and the Rams, or Corum and the Rams with your Walker Seahawks lineups, because Seahawks were popular last week and got 21 points, so makes sense. The other thing would be playing Walker with Darnold. Our guy Newens mentioned it in the chat. You go back to week 11. Week 11, Kenneth Walker, even with Charbonnet getting 11 carries, he had 67 yards, a touchdown. Kenneth Walker, this is, had 67 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches for 44 yards. That's in a lower scoring game, and that's with other dudes getting all kinds of touches. By the way, JSN had a huge game. Barner had like 11 targets that game. Kenneth Walker still just crushed. You go to week 16 and look at it. Again, these games don't mean this game. That's what we always say. It's a totally different game, but just noting this stuff and what could happen. That week, he got 11-9 for carries to Charbonnet, still got the 100-yard bonus, still got a touchdown, still got 3 catches on 3 targets for 64 yards. Like Kenneth Walker can get there in a ton of different ways. A lot of these things you're going to be looking at ways to get different, but if you are fading him, think about what you're doing instead and why. Don't just fade to fade because the ownership, because there's going to be tons of opportunities. So I think that's important. The one thing I will mention, couple things about, is the Henderson one. I have no other story outside of that. I like Kyron after that. I like RJ Harvey. I think Harvey with Denver could be interesting, because if you think about them and they end up doing something at home, it could be because of that. And that's why it's not that it's an easy rush matchup. It's a kill the clock, touchdowns near the end zone type thing. Stidham trying to keep him protected. He'll run some. You could have like a Stidham Harvey Denver lineup and then fill it out. That would be a way to pivot and get different in your Stidham lineups. But just noting it, the Henderson thing is all based on their latest Ramondre stuff. It's been back and forth, and plenty of times that we've seen it switch on a dime. That's one hoop where you could actually comfortably, in my opinion, just change their projection, swap it, and say, you know what? Ramondre doesn't get it going early. It's not as much Ramondre. I'm going to have Ramondre in my MME stuff. I'm just explaining to you on what you can look at it from. As even if you have the stone, you'll be able to see the optimal percentages. Nowhere close on any of these multiple running back spots. But in that one, it's close because no one ever really knows. And what if the Patriots, again, we said Denver might be able to at least put up a little bit of a fight in the beginning. Well, if you agree with that, it could be because Ramondre doesn't come through early, Henderson gets involved. If you don't agree with that and you say, nah, it's going to be Patriots blowout. Okay, well then if you think that, what if Ramondre causes it in the beginning, or if the pass game causes it in the beginning and then they go to Henderson and he ends up just again, remember in a 2 running back lineup, or if you go all the way to a 3 running back lineup with your flex, you only need to get 2 right. If you got Kenneth Walker right and it hurts Kyron and it's not Denver getting there, it's one of Ramondre or Henderson. So that would be where the case would be made for Henderson without getting too cute. The last thing I'll ask you, though, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about this, is what about playing 2 running backs from the same team?
The only spot I would be willing to do it would be the Patriots, just because I just cannot play. Corum, McLaughlin, like it's going to take 3 to 4 guys above them almost fully busting. Like if you're playing like Corum or McLaughlin, you need 3 of Walker, Williams, Harvey, Henderson to bust, like fully bust. Like they could score a touchdown. So for me, it would only be the Patriots situation, and then it would kind of just be like a Patriots onslaught. I think it would be like Drake May, Stevenson, Henderson, where Stevenson catches one, Henderson runs into Drake May, picks up some additional rushing yards on the ground. Like that sort of setup is where I would play it. But for me, it would only be the Patriots. I can't play Corum and Kyron Williams. I can't play Harvey and McLaughlin. I can't play Kenneth Walker and I'm not even gonna say their names. Yeah, those dudes. Like I'm not clicking double there. No way.
I can't even find Holani props, but I mean I would just do that through props. Like you said, you only need to play 2 running backs anyway. And Newens, we had this conversation last week with somebody else on here. The scarier it is, or the more scary, I should say, it is, the better on a 2-game slate. Like Trevion Henderson is not crazy. You're not picking some random diamond in the rough. He literally could be the Stevenson projection.
It's the only spot to make a play at running back. Like if you're looking to make some sort of move at running back, it's the most reasonable spot to make the play. Like it clearly is. And you're making the pivot from Stevenson, who's looking to be 40% owned. Like there's a 30 looks like like a 30% difference, somewhere in that range between Henderson and Stevenson. And like you said, you can just flip the projections. Why can't it be Henderson? Henderson had huge weeks all season long. And if he gets hot and breaks off a 50-yarder, you think they're just going to go away from his ass? Like, no, he's going to get more opportunities. So it's just the most realistic spot to make a move at a pretty boring position. I'd say running back is just boring, man. It's just a boring position.
And it's what you said too, like the Holani truthers out there, like he's going to be, it's 80-1 on ownership.
Yeah.
It's like 82. Yeah. It's like the ones you like. And I talk about this in golf and in PGA DFS all the time. It's like when everybody's talking about people, but not clicking them. It's like in this case, there's enough people still clicking Henderson, but it's very clear that's where people feel best if they're going to a backup, but they're not fully committed. They're still going to Ramondre first, and it's only $500 more. You're almost always going to have that $500. So certainly want to make note of that. The last thing I would say, it's really tricky because I think you just end up leaving a bunch of money on the table. But as if you did do Williams and Corum and hope that it's just a Rams beatdown and it's Darnold seeing ghosts, it's like you could have Williams, Corum, and Rams. That would be something that really hurts Walker. So at least it could make sense. But then you kind of just end up with that really, if they're really scoring those touchdowns, it's hurting Puka's upside. It's, are they throwing a bunch to JSN possibly? So you could at least have him for some spend. But after that, what do you spend on? And you can't even get the running backs in the other game unless you put one at flex. Drake, May, Diggs, you cap out on prices. Stidham, Sutton. So do that in your MME stuff if you're doing it where you want to leave $3,000 on the table. But overall, I don't think it's the best move for this slate. All right, let's move to wide receiver. Don't think this is going to go very long either because, as much as you said, the running back is a boring position. It's not quite the same, but Puka's going into a lot of lineups. JSN is going into a lot of lineups, and both are going into a lot of lineups, regardless of how you look at it. So what's your thoughts here at the wide receiver position?
Yeah, I mean, there's really, what do we need to say about JSN and Puka? I mean, they've been two of the best fantasy wide receivers all season long. Real life wide receivers too, not just fantasy. They're going to be highly owned on the slate. Obviously, pricing is super soft. It's easy to play them. In terms of ownership, we're showing JSN at 74, and that's because he's only $8K. He's $1,000 less than Puka. We're showing Puka at 60%. I think it's probably closer between the two. Maybe they're both, I don't know, mid to upper 60s or something. Either way, they're going to be highly owned. Easy to fit into lineups. That's the main thing. Easy to do whatever you want with them. So there's no point to really go into talking about those two. The important part is talking about the rest because you got to play 3 and then maybe 4, which I think is definitely viable. The 4 wide receiver builds. Just going by projection, Devontae Adams at 6K. If you're not playing Puka, what's the best way to get the leverage there? It's just go to Devontae Adams. The problem is he's still going to be highly owned too. We're showing 43%. So it's not a big play, but it is okay, if it's not Puka, then it's okay, do we want Stafford, Devontae Adams, and maybe throw in Kyren and that's how they get their points. Devontae Adams, fine play, obviously. The next guys though, after that group, because you can definitely make the case, obviously, for JSN, Puka, Devontae to have big games. After that, it gets pretty difficult, and the projection number comes way down. I mean, you're talking, we have Cortland Sutton as the next guy after Devontae Adams. We have his projection at 11.8. Sabersim has it at 10. Other spots have it, right around 10, 11, 12. So somewhere in that range. You're talking about low projected guys with, what is this? He's 5,700. I do think there's a good point when just talking about the Denver guys for a minute. And maybe I will kind of do what Title does and go team by team and talk through it, because I do think there is some validity to this with Stidham. You put any weight into Mibbs and Brian getting a little extra love. He's obviously been practicing with these guys a little bit more. The guy for sure is Bryant, because Bryant was already the next guy in. He had a much bigger role than Franklin down the final stretch of the season. And what we see first game of the playoffs, they were beating him. I mean, literally, it was 3 for 32 in the first drive, and then he got hurt. Bryant, to me, is the guy, and I hope the ownership remains relatively low because he was, with the concussion stuff, you never really know how bad it truly is. He practiced, I believe, on Wednesday, and then by Thursday, fully cleared, good to go, off the injury report. Like, I don't think there's any lingering issues for him. They're always very cautious with this concussion stuff, and sometimes there's a little fishy business on like the big name guys. Like, oh, how did he clear the concussion protocol so quickly? They're not doing that shit for Pat Bryant, and that just leads me to believe that he is fully good to go. Ownership on him is, we're showing 10. Like, it probably ends up a little higher than 10. Maybe it gets to 15, but on a 2-game slate, 15% play. I think Pat Bryant, just a phenomenal play. The rest of the Broncos guys, Sutton, I don't like Sutton a ton here. I mean, yes, he can be fine, but for me with the Broncos guys, it's definitely Pat Bryant, and then probably Mims, and then Sutton in order of my preference. On the Patriots side of things, it's going to be, it sounds like it has a chance to be a little more muddied up this week than last week, because it sounds like Mac Hollins has a legitimate chance to play, and it's already a tough situation with the Patriots all year long, because they're willing to use so many guys. Obviously, Diggs is the number one, but who's the, what is it, pass? I'm not a huge matchup guy in cornerbacks versus wide receivers. I think the wide receivers usually always have a advantage, but the what is it, Surtain from Denver? Yeah, he's legit. I mean, he's very legit. So a little worried about Diggs. You got Booty, who had the big game. You got Mario Douglas, who had the touchdown, but now Mac Hollins is going to be in the mix. A lot of these pass catchers for the Patriots, I just prefer when I'm playing Drake May. So if I'm playing Drake May, I'm fine playing these guys, but as like one-offs, lineup filler stuff, I just don't love the Patriots guys all that much. Going to the Rams, Puka, Devontae, and man, that's pretty much it. Like, you can't really play Whittingham or any of these other guys. We already kind of talked about them. And then Seattle, you got JSN, but another very interesting play, Cooper Kupp, 5 for 60, I believe, last week. Yeah, 5 for 60. So he got 5 targets, caught them all. I think he's a really solid play on the slate. He is getting the ownership, but at only 3,800. We are showing 25%. Like, that's not an ideal number for Cooper Kupp. Don't get me wrong, like 25%, but it's a 2-game slate. I mean, so 75% of people not playing him. I think he's a really good option. And then Shaheed, you can do the double dip worked out on Shaheed a little bit. I don't think he did anything receiving wise, but he had the kickoff return to start the game. And then after that, just 2 targets, like, tough to really go to him. So, outside of Puka, I'm going to put Devontae in there too. Puka, JSN, Devontae, those are kind of the main guys. My favorites after those guys, definitely Pat Bryant. I think Pat Bryant's phenomenal play on the slate. And then Cooper Kupp are the two that definitely stand out to me outside of like those main 3.
One thing you brought up Shaheed. I definitely am not in on it for the double dip. That's just randomized how that happens. Obviously, it worked out last week and on a short slate, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing I was wondering, so he did get 27 rush yards last week, and now no Charbonnet in the mix. Like, I guess there'd be like a little bit of baked-in potential just because of that. So at 4,100, big play guy, they could be saving him. Like, that we keep talking, making fun of how teams save guys. They went and got him for a reason. Sometimes you see that, like, what for? We'll show you in the conference championships when people think that the Rams are this big dog team. Let's see what happens here, even though they are the favorite at home slightly.
You have to imagine, like, he's going to get some opportunities out of the backfield, whether it's an end around or like a wide receiver screen where he's getting the ball behind the line of scrimmage and just go break a couple tackles and go. Like, he's clearly the guy. So yeah, maybe I do bump Shaheed. I think that's a good point. Like, no Charbonnet. They're not going to. Like, there's only so much Kenneth Walker can do. Like, obviously, he's going to get a ton of work. Don't get me wrong, but man, like, that's a good point on Shaheed. I do like that call.
And just to say this, so last week I was wrong, and I always take my L's, but like, Houston didn't get all the way there, like I said they would, but Seahawks did come down from 26 to 21. Houston bumped up to like 16 or something. It was still close. I was trying just to say, like, I could see that this week, though. Nobody's respecting the Seahawks D, even though you think some people are going to put them with Walker, whatever, people are going to be game stacking that. The minute people go Puka, the hand builders especially, they don't go to Seattle. And remember, Stidham is playing. It's just auto assumed. It's $200 more. We could be off at 30% on the Patriots because at the end of the day, when people are like, I can just play the Patriots versus Stidham. Perfect. Might as well do that. That's an interesting tidbit as well. So I just think just to consider those things when you're thinking about it. And so I think that's just one note there. Other stuff, so, Nuance had asked about and others as well. Like you definitely play Adams. And if Adams is 2 goal line touchdowns, that hurts Puka. It does give 2 touchdowns to Stafford, but the challenge with that is then Stafford can still be beat because Stafford's not usually going to run stuff in. He's not going to pick up a ton on the ground. If he's not getting the 300-yard bonus, that affects him. And, if Puka ends up with 6 for 80 and 0, but Adams has 3 for 45 and 2, that doesn't really mean Stafford is required. So that's one note that's different on a 2-game slate than on like a main 13-game slate where I'm like, okay, if Adams is actually a ceiling receiver with hundreds of options that we can use, then I'm probably going to want to have Stafford. And on a 2-game slate, it's not even close to the same thing. So you can definitely play Adams there instead. I think it's not too cute. It's just, what you're doing. You're saying, give me some of that Nakua over to Adams. We've done this tons of weeks with T. Higgins versus Jamar Chase. Sometimes you get the 2 touchdown T. Higgins game. Sometimes you get the 1 early touchdown to T. Higgins, and then Jamar Chase still scores 40. It's like that's sometimes how this can go. Interestingly enough, Hoop, in the Week 16 matchup, if you remember, the battle of Puka versus JSN, everyone was talking shit at halftime. It was like Mevis field goals and Charbonnet touchdowns. Like, what? Some battle between these two. And then they absolutely went off in the second half. It was like 1096 and 1 and like 790 and 1. It was just a huge second half for both of those guys. So that's the thing. They can turn it on at any time. Everybody knows this, but it's like Hoop said, if you're not in on Diggs and you don't want to play roulette with the rest, if you're not in on Sutton and you're not sure, I think the Mims, Bryant stuff you talked about, Lil Jordan Humphrey, 1, he was 0.16% owned, 2, nowhere to be found, not just because he's 0.1% owned. It's like 8 points ain't going to cut it. That's good for him. That's a prop. Hope you bet his anytime touchdown. Mims was a product, I think, of the injury, but obviously he's capable here, and so is Bryant again. Bryant being 4,400, $500 more than last week, and coming off concussion protocol leads me to believe people are going to go to Mims more for $200. It could have easily been Bryant that was in the Mims role last week, taking it away. Mims got there, a little bit most likely because of that concussion. So interesting there. In on the Cup, Shaheed stuff I talked about already and agree with you on the Cup side. I think the other thing too is if you're going to go like a way to play it different, you could play Darnold, Walker, Shaheed, and Barner. I know Arroyo's back. I actually liked him earlier in the season, won me some showdown money. But again, Barner's still the guy. He literally got 10 targets or something the last time, one of the times that these guys played. So not even about the matchup, just how they can use him in so many different ways. That would be a way that would really hurt JSN. So if you were looking for a way to get different with Kenneth Walker, it's to not have JSN paired in with him and Puka, and then to use him with Darnold. Most will go one or the other, and then to play a guy like Shaheed mixed in to kind of slice and dice that ownership a little bit. So I'm certainly thinking about that as well. Booty and Pop Douglas, even Matt Collins, all fine, I think, but you know what you're getting. Zeros are, 0, 10, or 20. There's almost like, it's not like boom or bust. It's like boom, bust, or just shitty, mediocre score that's no good for you. So that kind of sucks as well. It's not like they're guarantees in that way, but on a 2-game slate, I think it's possible. Anything else from that you want to hit on, Hoop? If not, take us into the tight end position.
Yeah, tight end. Yeah, nothing more at the wide receiver. I will say, yeah, I kind of already said it, but like based on your points, I think Shaheed is definitely, he has to get some work behind the line of scrimmage, and he has the ability to take anything to the house. So I will say definitely a little bump.
He's fast. It's insane watching his highlights and stuff. The guy's
so fast.
So fast.
He's going to get at least a couple opportunities behind the line of scrimmage, and it's can he break one? And he definitely can.
Do you have a rush prop on this slate?
I doubt it, but I had this stuff up. We need our guy.
Oh, they do give him one, 4.5.
Yeah, man, I would, man. I guess it depends if he gets a pass or whatever, but I would bet that, man. Like I would definitely bet that. Like
I'd bet that. Not just because it's lower, but Holani's is 8.5, and I know he's a literal running back for them.
Yeah.
And people are thinking, but that number seems like that's like, why is it only 8.5 if he's really going to spell Walker? Fine. But I think Shaheed is interesting at 4.5. I think they're definitely going to give him an opportunity. And by the way, I said it wrong. Everyone knows he's fast. He's shifty. The way he works going that quickly is different than others. A lot of people in the NFL are very fast. He's extremely shifty. So I think that's something that's at least somewhat interesting as well. If you're looking for upside, we just saw Cooper Kupp is solid. It's still upside, by the way, at 3,800 to get like 5 for 50. But I'm just saying it seems more floor, more capped, more like outside the red zone, end zone. Get some catches, move the ball, move the chains. Shaheed's the big play, the big opportunity. Could be rushing some. I think he's pretty interesting on the slate.
Yeah. Good call there for sure. Tight end stuff. Another position where sort by projection, ownership is falling right in line. Hunter Henry, the highest projected guy, highest ownership. Barner, second highest projection, second highest ownership. Parkinson, third highest projection, third highest ownership. You know where I'm going with this. Goes all the way down. I like Henry. I mean, Henry's my favorite pass catcher for the Patriots this week. Like if I'm playing Drake May, Henry for me is option number one. He is the highest owned, but all these guys are going to be high owned. So it's like you can't really be too concerned with it. But definitely prefer him over Stephon Diggs if deciding who to pair Drake May with. So I think he's a solid option for me. I'm going to have a lot of him. Barner, did nothing last week, and I'm fine with him. Like I definitely will play some, but not my favorite tight end play. Parkinson, I like quite a bit. Just to touch on those Rams guys, like Parkinson, I think it was like 7 targets last week. I mean, he is like wide receiver number 3 on this team. I mean, he's behind Puka, he's behind Devonta Adams. Like he's the next best option. Higbee, and then Ferguson. Was it 5 targets for Ferguson last week? I mean, they
tried him again too. They tried to get him in the end zone for you,
dude. I'm telling you, it's not just like bullshit little 3-yard passes. Like they use him when they're trying to score touchdowns, and that's very valuable on a 2-game slate. If he finds the end zone, like you're probably going to need him. But I think my favorite spot, and someone in the chat kind of hit on it. Right here is Ingram. I think like you see these backup quarterbacks or young quarterbacks, like they love going to the tight end, and Ingram hasn't really done shit all season long, but he's out on the field a lot. 3,300. Like I think he is a really, really good play. We're showing 11%. Sabre has it right around 10. Like it's hard to find 10 sub 15% plays on the slate. I think Ingram is a really solid option for that reason. Like, I mean, Bo Nix hasn't used him a ton, but maybe Stidham will, and you see it all the time with these backups or young quarterbacks where they do look to the tight end quite a bit, and I think that could be the case here. So definitely like Ingram as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for 2 seconds. I'm just looking up his. I'm just curious to see the props. I always like to look at them too. But yeah, 20 yards for him, and it's like only 28 for Barner, for example. Hunter Henry's 43.5, but Hunter Henry we've seen boom bust from plenty of times. The one thing interesting about Barner could be the tush push guy. Also, he's got the 0.5 rushing prop for Barner. They might use him for a shot as well. Somebody mentioned it earlier that two rush yards last week. That's 4x his prop. So give that a shot if you want to. But and DFS Jones down here says Rams love 13 personnel. All their tight ends are live. I think the most interesting is for me, Barner really hurts the JSN stuff. Not that you can't play them both together. I actually think more people would play that. But for me, if I'm going like Darnold, Walker, Shaheed, Barner, I can still play whoever I want everywhere else. And it's a way to move off of JSN and still go up against those Rams. I like the Ingram play, not just because of the safety blanket thing, but thinking about Sean Payton in the past and just the way it can work and how you'd want to set up your backup quarterback. He can run if he has to. Go ahead and use your legs if you think you need him, son. Like you can hear him telling him that. Like that's go ahead if you need him, right? If you don't, look for this guy. He's open. You can just get it across to him. Let's just move the chains. Let's kill the clock. Let's keep the Patriots off the field. Vrabel wants the opposite. So how do we do it? It's a battle. Like this is a good coaching battle. That's the other thing that people forget is you got good coaches here. People make fun of McVay and had some pluses and minuses over his time, but his playoff stuff they were showing the other day is pretty solid. The Seahawks coach, I always forget his name, but he's newer and obviously very solid. Peyton, you got Vrabel. I think that's part that people always forget. It's the good coaches typically move it on. The NFL moving through a lot of coaches these days, so we'll see how it shapes out for the future. But definitely think that is somewhat interesting there as well on the Ingram side, and also that's a double leverage. You can play them together. Don't get me wrong. We've seen where who was it earlier this season? Like Michael Mayer for the Raiders, and then it was the defense versus the Raiders that still got there. It might even have been the Rams at the time, but just noting it, a lot of people, you could play Ingram and Patriots, but because the Patriots are going to be so high owned, it's double leverage to play Ingram because it also makes sense. If you're playing Ingram, you're probably not on the Patriots D for the most part. Some will be, like I said, but if you're doing that, you're saying the game plan is going to be to move the chains, short pad, like not a lot of opportunities for the defense. So it double whammies the Patriots D here, where people think, oh, backup quarterback, I'm going to get all the opportunities in the world. Maybe not. It's a 5.5 spread that's moved to 4.5 at altitude in Denver, et cetera, et cetera. Really good defense. Surtain, like things that you talked about, there's other things that they can do to lead this in their favor. It could just lead to a really low scoring game. And that's where the battle in the trenches happens. That doesn't always give the other defense the advantage. So I think that's somewhat interesting as well. Do you want to talk anything further? That was kind of my segue to defenses as well, Hoop. Like, the Patriots going to be super popular for that reason. We get it. But what if they don't get ahead? What if things don't lean in their favor? That's where things can change quite quickly. And Seahawks going way overlooked on this, like could go from being the most popular to the least popular in just a run of a week based on they're playing the high-powered Rams now, right? Is the way people see it. But they are still a favorite at home and $200 less than the Patriots. Any quick defense ads for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Seahawks one is interesting because you look at these games and a lot of teams are going to want to be running the ball. Like Denver, if they can get away with just running the ball as much as possible, they're going to. Patriots defense is going to be popular. That's not ideal when you're playing a defense. Same with the Broncos. Like Broncos look to be pretty popular. The Patriots are going to run the ball if they can. Like who's the one team that is throwing the freaking ball this weekend? It's the Rams, right?
Rams in Seattle. I think both sides of that game.
Yeah, both are going to throw it. So, like, when you're playing a defense, you kind of want to be going against teams that are throwing the ball. The Rams are definitely throwing it the most, and Seattle will probably throw it quite a bit as well. And they're the two lowest owned. So, no real, I guess, hot takes at the position, but it's so random and volatile. But if you're looking for any reason to get off the popular Patriots or the popular Broncos, it's Seattle and the Rams are going to be playing offenses that are just much more likely to pass the football, which is kind of what you want when picking a defense.
Yeah, and I think this is where people like make fun of it and do whatever you want. Like both Hoop and I think our track records are pretty solid, but like when we like to talk about this stuff, it's because we love the game so much. And this would be an opportunity where I would say, like, think about this, what we just said with the Ingram thing. Ingram is 3,300. How much is Parkinson? 3,500. Higbee, 3,000. If someone's playing a Rams tight end or even Barner at 4K, whatever, they're likely to have the Patriots in there because they're not going to have, if you're on Parkinson with your Kenneth Walker and whatever else in that game, you're probably not playing the Seahawks D. You're probably not playing your Rams D, and you're probably not on the Broncos. You're probably on the Patriots because you can afford it and it's there. The flip side of that is Parkinson and the Patriots D is 7K. For 6,600, you can play Ingram and the Seahawks, and that just flips it completely. It's like it's Ingram against the Patriots. It's the Seahawks, $200 less than the Patriots. It's the Seahawks against the tight ends of Parkinson and Higbee. Just little things like that you can work to your favor and do differently. I think it's just little ways to look at it on this slate. The Seahawks D, not as popular as the Patriots. Like I said, now the least popular. But the other thing is if you're not on Kenneth Walker or you want a way to get different, why not play the Rams D? If it's not Kenneth Walker, it's probably because they're behind in this game now and they're chasing. Now Darnold does have to throw. Who can see ghosts and make bad mistakes and things like that? $2,800 Rams, that'd be a way to flip it when you're not in on Walker. And by the way, with the Rams D, you can most certainly still play Barner to beat up a pretty ugly tight end position. He could still rack up the catches. He could still have 7 for 70, and this team could score 6 points. Like that could happen. You could see Ingram, you could see if you play the Rams D, you could still play JSN, at 8,000. He's not as expensive as Puka. Most won't have him against them, but he could still rack up 7 for 95 and 1. But the Rams D could still be the D that's needed on the slate, and then that's still a killer score for JSN. So I think those are some of the things that I'm thinking about more than just saying Patriots versus a backup. If it gets there, it gets there. Just think about your lineups when you're building it out. And this is not, again, this is, you know everything about football, so you're just playing football. We're playing DFS. Why would they want to? Probably they don't. That's why the Walker's in the mix. That's why Walker's almost 90%. You're right. What we're playing for is a realistic option. How many times, now do this for all season long, Matuis, and go back and do this for every game you thought you knew what was going to happen and see how many of them you got wrong. Probably 80% or more, because that's what usually happens. So what they want to do and what they end up doing are two totally different things. And that's literally the whole point of DFS, because your lineup is telling the story. If you're in your lineups where you think that's what they want to do and that's what they get to do, you probably want to have Kenneth Walker. But in lineups where that's not what they get to do and the Rams get out ahead, why would you not want to recognize that the other way that they would get there is they'd be trying to pass? They could be down. So just the way it goes. Think about San Francisco last week against the Seahawks. They really wanted to run the ball and play it through CMC. Doesn't work when you're down 41-6 in the end of the game. Like what you want to do and what you end up getting to do are not always the same thing. So everybody has a plan, Mike Tyson, till they get punched in the face, punched in the mouth. Exactly that. There's definitely a plan there. But all these teams, to Hoop's point earlier, the Patriots Broncos is even better example of it. Both teams have the same plan. How's it going to work, though? We're going to find out in the first game on Sunday. And it's a game of leverage. It's a game of correlation. We're think about what you're doing, but also what you're not doing and what you need to account for in your DFS lineups. So I got nothing else, Hoop, on that. Do you have anything else you wanted to add there at all as far as this slate's concerned?
Yeah, it was a good point here. And title always brings it up as well, like on full slates. I mean, but this is a great opportunity for swapping, in between games. I mean, the best situation I think on the slate is the most obvious one. Like if you have Kenneth Walker and something else, I mean, I think you use the defense as a reference point, and you're trailing. I mean, you just go to Kyren Williams. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, it's pretty basic, pretty easy. Same situation. You can look at it at wide receiver. I mean, you can use it to extreme situations too. Like if you have Puka and you're chasing, you can just leave 3,000 and go to Devontae Adams. And like there's certain situations that would make sense and would be the right move. So you really got to look at things in between, whether it's head-to-heads, 50-50s, single entry, large field tournaments, all that stuff. It's going to be important in between games to check out some potential swaps.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I really like that one. I also think it's like Walker and Seahawks directly flips to Kyren and the Rams.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're probably have the money left anyway, but I will note, we just saw this a few weeks ago, and so I'll bring it up now just so people have it, is like the Walker to Kyren swap will be very common if things bust in the first game, the popular pieces. We saw it, remember the Genty Tracy Jr. week, and then everyone was like, oh shit, everybody swapped from Genty to Tracy Jr. because Genty was so popular. That will be similar here. So I wouldn't be afraid. I know it's way more risk in projection, but if you're behind and you need to catch up, I would actually, like in some cases at least, depending on the tournament you're in and all these different things, the more you know or have experience with late swap, the more you'll understand. But I think you could go to like from Walker to Seahawks. You could also go to like, you could go to Corum and Rams. But one thing from like Walker alone, you could go, especially if you got him in the flex, you could go to Shaheed and just say, I'm going to play the $4,100, hope that he busts something big in that game. Or just go to Devontae Adams for 6,000 and the flex would be even better. I like the Puka to Adams move better because that's leaving the money, but it's someone that can easily do it. But remember, a lot of people will go from Walker to Kyren to flip the script. You could go from Walker to Adams. It's definitely projection risk. You're down like 8 points now, but one touchdown catch, that could be the difference, something like that. I think it's important to know to how to work the late swap in your favor when that comes up. All right. I think that's kind of it, Hoop. I don't have too much else to add. I'm just trying to see here what else we got and covered, but we talked about the golf packages. Obviously, if you guys are looking to get in to the PGA Street, certainly think now is the time to do just that. If you haven't checked out the site yet, make sure you go over even under Join the Nation and you can just click the trials. The best deal right now to get in on is the 5 days for $19. You get all the stuff through this weekend. It's a huge MMA slate tonight. If you're in the UFC streets, that's big. So we got you covered for all of that. We've got the projections, the ownership. We've got obviously really good players over that use our stuff, and they've back tested the ownership extremely strong. The projection's good. You've got the slate plan, the core report, the stone, tier rankings, fight rankings. That's just for UFC tonight. NBA is daily covering. We just got the new DVP rankings added as well. The stone is a staple across all sports. We still have the NFL stuff that we talked about. We've got all the PGA stuff, another big round of showdown coming up, all the logos there. Anything else as far as the site goes, Hoop, that you want to add before we get out of here?
No, love to have you. Obviously, get in the Discord. I mean, the friendliest Discord in the industry, very active, like-minded individuals trying to build the same thing. Community has been, very so phenomenal. I mean, so many people in there willing to help. Just good conversations, all sports, different topics. So I just wanted to add in the Discord piece. We'd obviously love to have you.
Yep. That's the 5 days for 19 is like the best way to just check it out. We have a ton of people that access that and use it right now. It's a really good spot because also if you are before you want to try out the special, the best deal for the golf package, if you get in now, not only you get the showdown stuff for the weekend, the MMA, the NBA, and the NFL, most importantly, but you will also get the PGA for next week because you'll get Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You'll be all the way through this week's PGA as well. So hopefully that helps, guys. If you have any questions, let us know. Anything else you need, you can put it in the comments. Make sure to tap that thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Got a ton more free content coming out for Hoop and for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.